I'm Lisa.
And welcome to this special big interview to celebrate Lesbian Visibility Week with the insanely brilliant Zoe Lyons. Hi, Zoe.
Hello, how you doing?
Yeah, we're really good. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. Spring is in the air, so there's a feeling of hope and optimism.
Doesn't it make everything feel better?
It really does, you know. It really, really does. Just having that few degrees of heat and flowers coming out, it's like, oh yeah, we are ready for this, aren't we? Really ready for this.
Definitely. And when the sun is shining, there's warmth in it. Like, we definitely feel like we're getting to a better place. And thank goodness for that, because it's been a bit of a haul.
Yeah.
Lockdown was quite easy, wasn't it, in summer, because we could all go outside anyway, but during the winter you're just locked in.
I thought January, I mean that went on for about 8 years, the little January. That was still in January, my God. Yeah,
we had snow as well. Did you get any snow settle?
No, we had we didn't have it settled, but we did have flurries of snow. I went swimming one day when it was snowing. That was quite interesting. I started sea swimming in November. And,
what a time of year to start that, Zoe. What were you thinking?
My crazy friend Jen Brister, you must have. Jen's a brilliant comedian and lives down here in Brighton as well. And she got me into it. And we went through that whole week when it was bitterly, bitterly cold. We still went in, and it was, oh my God.
What kind of reaction do you just get? People standing open mouth going, "It's that bird off the telly."
There's loads of people do it here. I think it's because it's the only thing you can do in lockdown. One of the other things you can do. So, loads of people are doing it. Yeah.
I bet it sounds a bit mad for my blood, a bit rich for me.
Yeah.
How's lockdown treated you anyway?
It's been, I think, like most people, a bit brutal. It's been, I've been lucky in that I've still got some work that's come in and I've been able to sort of keep reasonably busy. But lots of, it's been very hard for comedians, really, really hard. All the clubs are shut, so no live work. And then sort of having to adapt to, doing stuff online and a different way of doing things. It's been really challenging. But sort of, career-wise, mentally as well, for everybody, it's just odd. So I think, if and when we can get back into the clubs, we'll be very happy.
You've been doing a weekly gig anyway, haven't you?
A weekly one?
Did you do a weekly one?
No. You told me that.
No, I said I'd seen you do like a Comedia thing to an empty room to do it online, and wondered how.
Oh, I did that last summer. That was just a one-off. Yeah.
Was it difficult?
Yeah, I mean, it's just you have to sort of play it like you sort of learn to play it like you're on telly. So you just play it down the camera with no response.
That's it. That's the difficult thing, isn't it?
I have performed to no response before, so it's it's not
wholly unfamiliar. Well, we've got a good friend of Pride and Surrey, Stephen Bailey, who I'm sure you may have heard of.
Yes, I was emailing him yesterday. We were having a little chit chat. Yeah.
Well, he actually suggested we get in touch with you because he thought that you'd be well up for chatting to us. So you're here on his suggestion. Yeah, but he did a gig in aid of his local theatre, which I think he's president of or something. And it was a great gig, but I did think to myself, that must be so hard. And that term, pivoting your business, certainly is the case when it comes to doing gigs that way. It's so different.
But it's such a two-way street, isn't it? You bounce off your audience and create that atmosphere.
Yeah. But it is. I mean, I did 2 gigs last night from my living room. So it is incredible how you adapt to these things. When back in April last year, when we were just sort of muting the idea of doing stuff online, I mean, my gut response was, that'll never work. I was like, that'll never work. And it does. I mean, to a degree, it works. It really does. So we're, happy to be able to do that in some way, shape, and form.
Do you think we'll see a change now? So, for instance, when we are back into live gigs and stuff, there'll still be that element of digital sales for people that can't physically get to gigs. Do you think that will change the way we do things?
Yeah, I think so, And I tell you what else I've done. I've done a lot of radio work from my house. I've done a lot of gigs that we've recorded on laptops, you know, with mics and stuff from my house, and I think that'll stay. There's a show I do every now and again with BBC Scotland called Breaking the News, and ordinarily I'd fly to Glasgow, spend the night there, do the show, and come home. You know, and the amount of travel, carbon footprint, and arse really involved in doing a half-hour show is sort of disproportionate to the product in a way, because we've discovered that by doing it online, by doing it, you know, recording it remotely, I don't think it loses that much. So I think things will become, I do think things will change. I think things will change for the better. I think, you know, it's it will carry over in some shape. Yeah.
No, I think it has to, doesn't it?
A good combination of both would be nice, wouldn't it? Because it actually makes it more accessible. It makes comedy more accessible for people who maybe can't afford theatre shows all the time, you know, and it just, you know, widens the audience. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Good. Although that said, I can't wait to get back to live entertainment. I just can't wait. We've missed it so much, haven't we?
Yeah. I miss music gigs. I really miss music gigs. You know, the last gig I went to before all of this happened was I went to see Underworld in Amsterdam, and it was, I mean, so much fun. It was, you know, $5,000 ravers, and it was so much fun. And the thought, you know, and then boom, all of this happened. It's like, oh wow, I really miss that feeling of
It's that atmosphere, it's that being with people, isn't it? I just hope people are frightened to do it afterwards, you know. People, there's this thing now where people are kind of frightened of other people, aren't they? You know, you go around Sainsbury's and people are kind of like that with you. And how long will it take us to get out of that mindset?
Yeah. To be honest, I've never been in that mindset. I'll rub myself up against anything. So it's.
Oh gosh.
Absolutely brilliant.
So banned from Sainsbury's.
Eggs. So have you got anything tentatively booked for the summer, or are you waiting to see where we're going with it?
You mean gigs? What you mean, sort of show-wise?
Yeah, work.
Work-wise, I've got a few little gigs booked in with various people. No tour yet. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I just couldn't bring myself to, because it's a lot of work, you know, for promoters to plan everything and book it all in, and then just keep shifting and shifting and shifting. I just couldn't. I don't know. I think I reached a point of sort of mental fatigue. I think, like a lot of people, where I just was like, I can't take any more disappointments. So we just put nothing in, and therefore nothing can get taken away. That's how it feels.
Yeah, and you know, we're all in the same boat. Like our, not on the same scale at all, but our Pride calendar is exactly the same. We haven't wanted to announce anything for that exact reason. You don't want to disappoint people and put the graft in. But hopefully, in the next few weeks, we might turn a corner with this.
Yeah. Crossed.
I hope so. Anyway,
so let's talk a bit about your career. Obviously, we're here to celebrate Lesbian Visibility Week, and I'd be really interested to ask you if, when you first started performing, you know, however that was, whether it was in pubs, open mics, and that kind of thing, if you were out and proud and bang straight away, or did it take a little while for you to get comfortable with sharing with your audience?
Yeah, I didn't do it straight away. I think I was just so nervous about being on stage in the first place. To be honest with you, when I started, 20 years ago, just being a woman on stage was too much for a lot of people. So you just sort of had to break them in gently. I was literally the only woman on the bill most of the time. And yeah, that in itself was an affront to some audience members. Like, a bloody woman? Are you kidding me? That old thing you've heard 1,000 times, women can't be funny, and it's like, what, half the population? Really? So it took me a while. It really did take me. It took me a little while, probably a couple of years, to be honest, and then I was able to do it. But in that way that you do, in that sort of initially, in that sort of self-deprecating way, almost to sort of say it before the audience said it.
Yeah.
I think when I started out as well, if you were a woman on stage, people just assumed you were an angry lesbian anyway. That's all they assumed. You'd be like, well, it's a woman and she's talking and she's obviously got some confidence. She's probably a lesbian. Honestly, that's how people's heads work. She's an angry lesbian. That's what she is. Which is genuinely what I had, I had said to me many times. Well, I am, but I'm not that angry. I'm really not that angry. People just sort of confuse that confidence and that visibility with being sort of an affronted woman. So when I did talk about my sexuality, it was in a very self-deprecating way. It was sort of deflate myself so that there was nothing for them to attack, if that sounds... Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, perhaps even from personal experience, when you first come out in life, you kind of do it like that, don't you, in a self-deprecating way, and create humour from it so that you sort of automatically deflect any issues you get from it.
Yeah. And now when I talk about it, it's changed so much, because now when I just talk about it, it's this, that, and it carries less weight, and if people don't like it, well, I mean, that's clearly their problem, not mine. So yeah.
Do you now find yourself being described as that lesbian comedian?
Less, actually. That has improved. But yeah, you were always initially, like 15, 20 years ago, lesbian comedian. Not that one, the other one, because there was always more than one of us. But yeah, that one. Oh yeah, that lesbian comedian. Yeah, it was always that female comedian, or that female gay comedian, or that it was always prefixed with something. Yeah, you couldn't just be Zoe Lyons, or that would be too much for them. Yeah, but now that has checked. I haven't been introduced as the lesbian comedian for quite some time, so that's nice.
That's all good. There's quite a few of you now, so
exactly. And it's so because as a human being, I don't think about it as much as other people do. You don't introduce yourself in sort of normal circumstances. Hello, I'm that lesbian, Zoe Lyons. Somehow in stand-up, people just had to label you.
Yeah.
Did
you find your audience change somewhat after you came out? Did you get a little sort of rebel gang of dykes following you around from club to club?
Not really. Do you know what? My audience has always been very mixed. I think that's probably and more so later. And I think that's because I do a lot on Radio 4 and that sort of thing. So there's always little pockets.
Everywhere.
I don't know if that's the collective noun. Little pockets. But no, it's not predominantly a gay crowd that I get. I like that I've acquired a mixed bunch. Yeah,
it's the best way, isn't it? It's ideal.
Yeah, when we've been to see people, you expect, because there's a lesbian on the billing, that it's going to be all undercuts and and actually people are dragging their husbands along, and there's loads of people, and it's nice to see a mixed bag of people. To
be honest, it's much healthier, and it's much better for a comedian to perform to a mixed room of people. It really, really is, because it's because that's life.
Yeah. And you know what? It just gives you great material in the room, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The way you interact with the audience is so important, and having a mixed bunch is better.
I'll tell you what, talking about that though, we watched you on the Stand Up to Cancer thing the other day.
Oh yeah.
Was that as difficult to do as it seemed for you guys?
Yeah, it was quite tricky. It was really tricky.
You actually looked pained quite a lot of the time.
Oh my God,
it's hard. Because it's a weird thing to sort of explain how to do, and we didn't have that much time at all. And Katie, who I was working with, was brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
She did brilliantly, didn't she? Like the whole way along, I was thinking, she's gonna tank, it's gonna be awful. And then she got on the stage, she had that little wobble at the beginning, and then she was like, boom, and she was fantastic.
Absolutely brilliant. I mean, they all did really, really well, really well. It was really nerve-wracking to watch them do it. It was really, Not paying for them. Yeah.
I can imagine being stood behind that curtain thinking, why did I do this?
Yeah. Every time I go on stage, I'm like, Christ, what have I done this? Yeah.
It was interesting though how once she'd cocked up and then she made a joke of that and then she just came alive, didn't she?
Yes.
Like when you do make mistakes and then when you become sort of more of a real person, the audience has a different expectation.
I'm glad that happened to her almost, because we spoke about it before she went on stage. It was almost like an afterthought. I went, listen, you might forget what you're saying. Don't worry about it. It happens all the time. Just carry on. Just embrace it and move on from it. And it did happen. And she dealt with it really, really well. So
yeah, it's good. It kind of breaks that fourth wall, doesn't it? And then you have that sort of interaction with people. And I always remember like the greats, you know, like Rick Mail, whenever he used to cock up on stage and he would just turn around and tell the audience to F off, and it completely broke everything down and made part of it, you know. I always thought that was amazing.
People like it.
Yeah.
Like it makes it more human, makes it more interesting. Yeah,
that's it. Human, normal people.
Absolutely.
Oh dear. Right. Okay. Right. Listen, I would be terrible if I didn't ask you about how you feel about Ireland. I know that you spent some time there as a child, didn't you? So I'm always championing the Emerald Isle. So tell us tell us about your time in Ireland.
Well, my dad is Irish, from Waterford, and we moved there when I was about 6 months old. So yeah, my first sort of 10 years was spent in Ireland, 9-10 years was spent in Ireland, in Dunmore East in County Waterford, which is a tiny little fishing village. So I had a very lovely sort of idyllic childhood growing up in beautiful countryside and seaside environment. It was really, really lovely. And of course, since Brexit, the old passport has been much appreciated as well.
Yes.
So,
you're clinging on to your Burgundy.
Oh my God, yes. It was the first thing I did. It was like, right, well, that form's getting filled out now. So yes, I've got that now. So that's handy, shall we say? Very, very proud of my heritage passport. Yeah. My brother's never had a British. My brother's always had an Irish passport. My brother Finton, who also got the very Irish name, has always had an Irish passport. So. Yeah,
worth having for sure. Get through those queues quicker.
Yeah. Mine's rubbish. I have to join a different queue from the rest of my family now at airports because the kids have all got Irish passports as well.
Yeah.
So
I know. Yeah. But I went back to Ireland. A couple of years ago, and we did a little radio show about it and about British people getting their Irish passport. You know, British people with Irish heritage, and it was fascinating. It was really interesting. And you know, I grew up in Ireland in the 70s. And taught by nuns and all of that, and it's
like me.
To see how it's changed, and it's such a progressive, forward-thinking, youthful, exciting country. You know, it really is. I went back and I went, I could live here.
Yeah, I know.
Do it all the time, don't
I know.
we?
I've been here 20 years, but yeah, particularly I think since Brexit, I kind of think, you know, I could go back. But you know, it's difficult. We've got young kids, and you know, uprooting everybody. But maybe eventually.
Yeah. Maybe one day. Yeah. I'd like to get that Burgundy passport, but I have to live there for a certain amount of years before I qualify through marriage.
Yeah.
So,
3 years.
Yeah. But like you say, Ireland is really progressive, isn't it? And it's, you know, it was the first country to bring in gay marriage by way of referendum. You know, becoming so much more progressive, while us in the UK seem to be rolling back queer rights, and we're rolling back, you know, protest rights, and we're taking everything away. And then you've got wonderful, you know, countries like Ireland that are just steering the way and putting us to shame.
Yeah, and I think it's because, I mean, I don't know whether it is a reaction and a response to the grip that the church had on the country for so long, and the, you know, the atrocities that you know were handed out by the Catholic Church. I think, you know, the younger population now have absolutely kicked back against that, and that's possibly why it is, you know, more progressive than the United Kingdom, whereas we've sort of progress at a slower pace, where we've been a secular nation for longer, whereas Ireland really did kick back against the church, and it's produced this, you know.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is an absolute utter rejection of the Catholic Church particularly, and you know, it's a good thing. The progress is a really good thing. Like when I left Ireland, it was only just at that time that they were beginning to open up like these amazing little schools that you could go to if your family wasn't Catholic. Like prior to that, you had to be. And in fact, my niece and nephew were only 6. They had to be baptized before they could put their name down for their local school.
Yeah.
Like, just, you know, some things like that are still chronic, but I think in terms of equality and the abortion legislation that's come in, I think is all moving really, really positively in lots of ways.
Yeah.
So, long may it continue. Great little place.
Do you think we've got anything to worry about in the UK, Zoe, with regards to our rights being removed and rolled back?
I mean, you have to look at the government, don't you? And sort of I wouldn't put it past them. I mean, you know, our own Home Secretary is. I mean, yes. I mean, yes. You look at the government, you go. It wouldn't be a surprise if various things were tightened up. I know this Kill Bill, the Kill Bill protests that are going on at the moment. To be honest with you, I haven't watched the news for a while, just to keep paying. So I've just heard snippets of what is occurring, and I'm probably not versed enough in this to make comment at the moment. No, but I think I'm more concerned about what happened, you know, globally, where you see. There are so many countries around the world where people are persecuted and indeed put to death because of their sexuality. That worries me immensely. That is, you know, it's 2021, and you know, I think we live in a relatively. I don't want to use the word privileged. It's not the right word, but you know, I live in Brighton, which is. You know, it's a real bubble of diversity and inclusion and acceptance, and I'm forever grateful for that, because I realise that there are people globally that just do not have that sort of life and do not have that sort of existence, and you know, and struggle on a daily basis with it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is a privilege, and I think when we consider places like Poland, where they have all these LGBTQ free zones now, like the rise of that kind of thing is just extremely worrying. But I think we are
Europe, you know, that's
Europe. That's only across the way.
Yeah. So. And privilege isn't the right word. It's not privilege. We deserve to be seen. We deserve everything that we have. It's just, I think, it is shocking when you see the circumstances that other people have to live in, not that far away from us.
Yeah. By comparison.
Isn't it something like 72 countries still in the world where it's unlawful?
Yeah, I mean, it's just bizarre, isn't it? I mean, I've been to a few of them. It's just weird, though. It's so strange.
I know. Our kids are saying things like, "Oh, can we go to such and such on holiday?" We go, no.
No. I mean, I go to Egypt quite a bit because I go scuba diving when we can. You know, I go diving in the Red Sea. And whenever I went with my partner, we always had to go, so we're cousins. Yes, we're cousins.
Yes.
Your mum, my mum's sister, or is it your dad's mum's sister, or what is it? And you're like, we're overcomplicating this. We're just cousins. Okay, we're cousins.
That's it, isn't it? It's adapting your behaviour, you know, to suit somebody else's standards, and that all comes down to the visibility, doesn't it? You know, so loud and proud and open and free to be who you are at home, and then having to kind of put yourself in a box in order to be able to travel to places is. It's different. We don't think we could do it, do we? That's why we don't go to those places.
No.
You know,
that discipline and not being able to, like, you know, touch you or hold your hand or
forget ourselves. I think.
Particularly when we're on holidays, we go into a complete holiday bubble, don't we? Practically nobody else there. It's lovely. Oh dear.
Do you think it's important, though, you know, that we're obviously here to celebrate Lesbian Visibility Week, and you know, obviously for a long time the queer scene was very much seen as you know, the gay boys dancing to Hazel Dean, and then all of a sudden, you know, the Rebel Dykes burst onto the scene and we were there and we were everywhere. Do you think it's important for us to be visible in the mainstream media? Absolutely, yes. I mean, I've always wanted to be visible to the point that in the end you become invisible. Does that make sense? So that people don't notice anymore. So that by just being and doing and representing, eventually
the idea is that you become invisible, that people haven't noticed that you're a gay woman there, that they haven't gone, oh look,
Yeah.
So, it's sort of I've always just my aim was to just completely normalize my own existence, and that comes through visibility and the exposure, and then eventually invisibility, not invisibility, but not being noticed for the wrong reasons, or not being noticed for being different, or being, other. It's just, oh, there she is. And that's, I think we're getting to that point now. We certainly, it's so much better, isn't it, than when I was a kid growing up. I was constantly looking for clues that I wasn't the only one. I was constantly looking for reassurance that I would be able to have a life and an existence and even a career where I would be able to be out and open and accepted. And, I'm sure there are still kids in this country who are looking for those clues. So it is so important to be out there and to be, bold and brash in what you are. And it means such a lot. I mean, when I was a kid, I remember Channel 4 had a program called Out on Tuesdays. I think it was called Out on Tuesdays, and it was aimed at the gay community. It was quite bold. It was quite brash. It was quite, but I remember watching it sort of secretly at home, behind the couch with the remote control in case my parents came in, and then sort of changing over quickly because I just was like, are there other people like me? Are there other women like me? I mean, as far as I knew, I was the only one at school. I probably wasn't.
No, you weren't.
But of course I wasn't. But you did feel so alone. So thank God things have changed.
Really. Who do you think paved the way? I mean, who were those women on telly and on stage that really, gave visibility to us and made us feel that we could be ourselves?
Well, I mean, it's only probably in the last 20 years, isn't it? Really, because even if my friend and hero of mine, Sandy Toksvig,
love her.
Even she has said in the press that you just couldn't say you were a lesbian. People would look at her and go, she's a lesbian, but she's a lesbian. A lesbian. I can't even say it. But it was very, very difficult. So obviously, eventually, she did come out and has been so visible, and to the point of becoming a national treasure. So it makes it much, much easier. I mean, you look at people. You look at Jodie Foster, who was a massive Hollywood star, still couldn't come out for ages and ages and ages because they were just terrified it would ruin their career. And I think Hollywood is still probably the same when it comes to things like that. I look at Sandy and I think, she's just that little bit older than me, not much, but a little bit older than me, and she's been doing this. She's been in the media a lot longer than I have, and you appreciate how tricky things must have been.
Yeah,
she's so brilliant.
She did come out later, though, didn't she? And I can remember, when I was young and just coming out and going out and seeking out her novels and her books, and just like you say, to sort of be close to something that had been created by somebody like me. I think kids are luckier now, though, aren't they? Because all these young actresses, all Kirsten Stewart and Cara Delevingne and everything, they don't care. They're just all queer as they like, all over the place. And
it just wasn't an option. 25 years ago, it was not an option. I mean, it was an option, but then your career wasn't an option. It was really, really hard for people.
But then, interestingly, you look at how successful people like Julian Clary were, and how he was able to be big and brash and as camp as Christmas.
Isn't it a different thing? Because we accepted gay men if they were flamboyant and over the top because they were in plain sight and therefore weren't a threat. It's like, well, that's, look at it, it's in drag, you can see it's coming. But straight acting gay men or straight acting, gay people were seen probably more as a threat because they're stealth-like because they look just like us. So within media, within television and theatre and films, we accepted that drag-like version of homosexuality because it was pantomime and it was visible, and therefore the threat had been taken away. And we have a long tradition of pantomime in this country, and that is camp, and we like it, and we accept it, and we tolerate it. But that was the only sort of form of queerness that we were able to digest. Yeah, anything that was a straight-looking gay person who just went, "Oh, I'm gay," would be like, "Oh my God,
hide your wife!
They're looking like us. I didn't see it coming. You didn't have wigs and a heel on. What's that?" So it's we accept the sort of flamboyant camp version of it, but that was it.
But it was interesting, you said that there was a tolerance of it, and a tolerance of something is incredibly different from an acceptance of something, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it tokenistic to allow people like Julian to have such a huge career on the telly? Kenny Everett, were they tolerated or were they accepted?
I would say the vast majority. I mean, Kenny Everett. I loved Kenny Everett so much. Oh my goodness! But I bet most people watching it, who enjoyed the show, would not want to discuss his sexuality, the other side of it. That's disgusting, but he's quite funny. So it is sort of tolerated. Well, I guess it was tolerated more than sort of
embraced.
Yes. Because in the same way that I was that lesbian comedian, he would have been that slightly queer. So it's not a complete sort of
no
comfort with it.
But now we've got such great representation, haven't we? I mean, we've got you to look up to. We've got the likes of Jem Brister. We've got Susie Ruffle. We've got Sandy. Every time you turn on the telly or go into a bookshop, we've got great representation now for the lesbian community within the comedy circuit, haven't we?
Yes, definitely. Yes, and it's and it'll only improve. And it's nice to see. Comedy bills are much more diverse these days than when I first started out.
Do you still find you're the only woman on the bill, or is that changed?
No, not so much now. No, not at all. I mean, occasionally, but I mean that stats, it happens. But no, I mean, you're much more likely to get a much more mixed bill these days. It really is. I mean, promoters literally wouldn't put two women on the same bill together. They just wouldn't. They'd be like, "No, we've got a woman." That would be their their answer. No, we got the woman. But the thing is, I've never ever seen it as a disadvantage. I've only ever seen it as an advantage, because if you are the one that looks odd or the odd one out, eyes will be drawn to you. So therefore, you have to be better. And I think that's why we've got such a strong female representation on the circuit now, because women have had to be better, because we were judged more harshly, and now we are better.
Yeah, our female comedians are just fantastic. I think we're really lucky in this country. We've got such talent. It's wonderful.
Yeah, and we, generally, women on the bill. I don't say this flippantly, but we've had to think harder about what we're talking about, because we've always been judged more harshly. Any bloke, when I was starting out, could get up on stage, talk about, wanking and Star Wars, that was we had to sit, and nobody bat an eyelid. Even 4 or 5 of them could get up and do the same sort of material. If a woman got up and went a bit premenstrual, they'd be like, "Here she goes, banging on about her lady bits,"
But Victoria Wood made a whole career out of it.
Yes.
It was the queen of the menopause joke.
Yeah.
But who were your comedy heroes growing up?
She was definitely one of them. Victoria was just amazing, and just a glorious human being. He was brilliantly funny, and always made me laugh. Always, there was such a warmth and a kindness and a generosity to the characters that she created. It was lovely to watch, really lovely. And I mean, as a kid, Billy Connolly was, another big one.
I love Billy Connolly.
And Robin Williams, I related to him. His frenetic energy, he's sadly his frenetic energy, he had a lot going on. but he was an amazingly funny comic. Brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely genius. Oh, there's too many to talk about, isn't there? But I mean, talking about your career, let me just get something up on the screen here. We talk about some of the awards that you've picked up throughout your time. Let me just squint because I need to go closer. So, funniest joke of the Fringe. That must be an accolade. Do you get a trophy for that? Is it in your loo?
It's not in the loo. It is in the office somewhere. Yeah. I've got a few of them. My favourite trophy. I've got to be honest though. My favourite trophy. Not banging my own trumpet here. Banging my own trumpet. Why would you even do that for a trumpet? I have no idea. I don't know, usually euphemism. That's what they do. Bang their trumpets. It's disgusting. I won an edition of a celebrity, inverted commas, Mastermind a few years ago, and that's my favourite trophy. That's quite a nice big weighty one. It's got a. I've always thought it'd be the one that I would go to if there was ever an intruder in the house, because it's made of glass that's quite heavy, and there'd be something sort of poetic about bashing somebody over the head with a Mastermind trophy.
What was your specialist subject?
That one was, I've done it twice, and my subject when I won was the life and times of Quentin Crisp.
Interesting.
Yes, and I just did it again recently, and I did Jacques Cousteau, the French underwater explorer. So that was
Is it hard? Is it hard to pick a specialist subject?
Yeah, because you do have to read quite a bit about it, so you do need to make it something that you know vaguely interested in. So because I go scuba diving, I was very interested in Jacques Cousteau. So yeah, it's fascinating.
What would mine be? Mine would be famous serial killers between 1970 and 1983.
That's very specific. Yeah. But it wasn't. I mean, it was a bumper period in the sort of serial killer.
All the best ones.
Yeah, it really was. They could just
the golden years. They don't make them like they used to.
The happy years, the bumpy years. Yes.
But how does it feel to be nominated for those kind of awards? You know, funniest joke of the Fringe and best newcomer and things like that. That must give you a confidence in your work.
Yes, it does. When you're starting out, it really, really does. It really does. It really helps, and it just helps me in those days to get into clubs, you know, and get booked and get more gigs, because that's, you know, it's changed quite a bit since I started out. But you know, that was what you did. You just, you know, you tried to get on different bills in different clubs and get in all the clubs, and then you start out getting the middle spot, and then you want to be the opening spot, and then you want to be the closing spot. That's how it goes, and it's it was a sort of never-ending battle. Yeah.
Hard work, hard graft.
Yeah. It was a lot of hard work, and I mean, it really isn't glamorous when you're starting out. Some people are very lucky and starting this career and instantly hit on something, and obviously times have changed, and there's a lot more sort of social media aspects of it and different platforms that people can represent themselves on. But when I started out, it was driving to gigs all across the country, 6 nights a week, getting home at 2, 3 in the morning, eating a gangster's pie somewhere in a lay-by while you're crying. It was a lot of work, a lot of hard work, a lot of lonely nights, and quite miserable. But you just did it. You did it. Yeah. There was no other way of doing it. You know. No. And in fact, you know, when I first started out, there wasn't actually that much stand-up on television when I first started out. So it was literally the only way of doing it. That was it. You couldn't. I mean, I drove tens of thousands of miles, sometimes to go and do 10 minutes at a gig for free, and then drove home, you know, and you know, sometimes it didn't go well, I'll be honest. And it was brutal. It was hard. It was really hard. So now when I get nice things and nice jobs, I'm like, I have deserved this. I do deserve this.
Yeah, absolutely. But it must have created like some nice relationships with other people on the circuit. You know, you must have. Totally.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing like a green room full of comics. It's pre-gig. It's just, And currently at the moment, because we can't do any of that, I really miss that. And I really miss the banter, and I really miss the, because comics know comics, and we say appalling things to each other, and we anybody who walked in would be like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that. Comics know comics, and we just push it, and we say terrible, terrible things to each other that we find absolutely hilarious. And I'm missing that horribly at the moment. That's what I'm missing. Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm sure we'll get back to it really soon. Yeah, we can't wait to come and see you, and to actually get back into rooms and have that atmosphere. Oh, dear. Right, listen. We obviously, as well as showing this across our channels, this whole interview will be broadcast across our radio shows, which goes out all across Surrey, and it goes across Trans Radio UK. And something we always ask people to do is to pick a song for us to play on the radio for you. So what would that song be?
Oh, wow. You've put me on the spot.
Sprung it on you, haven't we?
As well, I went, I realised I've just sworn on this, so you'll have to bleep that out for radio.
I should have heard what Stephen K. Amos said when we spoke to him.
Yes, I bet he was potty-mouthed. A song. Oh, what should we have? What did Stephen choose?
I can't remember.
I can't remember.
That was 2 months ago.
Oh, okay. Let's have Bronski beat.
Yeah, good.
What's the one I want?
Small Town Boy.
That is the one I want. I want Small Town Boy.
We can do that for you.
Yeah, lovely. Because I did a thing. I did obviously the Stand Up to Cancer with Reverend Richard Coles, and I was looking at him and go, "Well, you were a pop star."
I know.
My brain just goes, "But he was a pop star."
And he's so cool, isn't he?
He's so cool.
Yeah,
so
love him.
Cool. So yeah, that's what I'll have. Small Town Boy. Yeah,
we will play that for you. Is there a parting message you would like to leave us with for Lesbian Visibility Week?
All I would like to say to anybody listening or watching is obviously enjoy Lesbian Visibility Week. If you do spot one, don't point at it.
Our daughter does that. She goes, "There's a gay, Mum. There's a gay." We're up to 63 in town now.
Sorry, I was just making myself laugh. Oh, we know you know how deep into lockdown you are if you've made yourself laugh. What I'm learning in life is you can only be the best version of you. You can only be you. You can only be true to you, and just try and be the best version of you can possibly be. And that means being visible and authentic, and most of all, kind. Well, there's a car horn to toot what I've just said. I don't know if you can hear that, but just bang on cue. It's like that.
We agree.
Wholeheartedly. We're
in groupies outside.
That's what it is. I can't move for them, really. They're everywhere.
Can't get out the door.
I have to live on the 8th floor now because they just keep piling up outside. Stickle bricks, aren't they? Stickle bricks.
Zoe Lyons, thank you so much for speaking to us. It's been an absolute pleasure and a privilege to have you join us here at Pride in Surrey today. Thank you.
It's a privilege for me, so thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you so much.
I'm Zoe Lyons. Sometimes it's easier just to text. Text TALK to 88440. You're not alone.